QB chasing.
G'day, listeners, and welcome back to another very special episode of the Matter Mentality podcast, where we talk all things training, nutrition, and psychology, and now business to maximize your performance. Today, I am joined by a very good friend and brother from 12,000 miles away, the founder, director, head coach, head educator, lead system designer from ATS, Appy. How are you doing, sir?
Yo,
Thank you for jumping on.
what's going on, man? Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be back. Yeah, this is a cool opportunity, and I really like the direction we're going with this one, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so let's just jump straight into it because we've kind of been rambling a bit off air anyway, and I think it already laid a solid flow of conversation. But last time we spoke, it was a lot of the CJ story. It was a lot of where things sort of came from and what got you into coaching and baseball. But
Yep.
the next chapter where you guys are, I think, is a very it's a very educational, informative position for upcoming coaches, upcoming systems and businesses, because you're at that level of scale and growth now that is very respectable, very commendable. And I love seeing it because I love seeing you guys win. But it's in your own sort of unique way. The way you're building things out is not what I would say is usually the template sort of over here in Australia for like a Gen Pop gym system. But you've
Yep.
also got the establishment of your pro system and basically what I believe is a very successful program. The guys come in, the expectation is that they go to the next level. The next level happens. It's not like a if this then maybe. It seems to be like they walk in to the ATS system and they go to that place they're supposed to go to. It's almost like it's predicted, not or expected, not maybe. And you only
I agree.
guarantee win so much, but from the
Yeah, yeah.
outside looking in, it's a lot of you show up, do the work. This program gets you there. And from that, you start to have this appreciation of pro culture and pro sport and winning culture in an environment. But you've now got that across what I believe to be even your general locations or what your active locations are,
Yep.
which is serving more of the general population. Like over here, we call them Gen Pop. I don't know if you guys use different language for that, but
Yeah, no. Gem Pop's good.
that's like it's taking that winning culture, in my opinion, through systemization structure that you have with ATS, and it's turned into a very dynamic and winning system that I think a lot of people can stem to learn from. And obviously, we're not going to go into all the secrets, but you know how let's start at the foundational point there with the pro side. What is the like the clear culture that you've developed with the pro team that's allowed that sort of learning development, because you've obviously taken from that and moved it towards your general teams? How does that start? What took to build that for you to go, this is something we have here that's a winning culture?
Yeah. So I think, it's interesting, like with our athlete model, with our athlete business, a lot of the things that we did happened on accident, right? So it in a lot of ways, it is very much a happy accident, right? When you're a solo operator, you're a coach, or you just open the gym and you're coaching all the hours, you're on the floor. Your values, your mission is very clear. It's very direct because it's you, right?
Mhm.
So you're constantly communicating it. You don't have to think about communicating it. It's constantly coming through. You're constantly probably discussing it with those athletes who are closest to you. You're telling them to bring their friends. You're literally identifying things that they do, actions that they take that are in line with your values and in line with the mission and the vision and the culture that you're trying to create. So it just becomes very, very simple and in a lot of ways like a happy accident. Um, Once you go to scale, all of that goes away. And then it becomes about how effective you can communicate your vision, your mission, and the values that you hold near and dear that you think drive your vision and mission to your team, and then allow them to distill that to the athlete, right? So,
Mhm.
and again, that's the same thing with the general pop model is how effective can I communicate our vision, our mission, our values, and then how well can they then take all that information, all that context, and distill it for the person in front of them. And that's an interesting place to be. So I think, to answer the question of how did I do it with the athletes, like it was an accident, right?
Yeah.
Like I started out, I was 18 years old, I'm training every single session. I'm there. I was still playing college baseball when I opened the first gym. So I was like working out in between sessions, trying to get my own training in, and then training, and all the only things I'm talking about are what we now know as our, our quote unquote core values, right? I'm talking about putting on your hard hat every single day, showing up, being consistent. Consistency beats intensity. This idea that like, even if things aren't perfect, we can still get something done. We can still move in the direction of the goal. But then how do you get everybody else to speak about that, demonstrate that, right? And, one of the big things I've been saying to people that when they ask about core values is this idea, this concept that core values are caught, not taught, right? Like, how do I get our people to catch those values and then pass them on and like let the athlete or the person in front of them catch them? And that's the interesting part. That's the systems part that I'm interested to dive into a little bit today and kind of work through on the fly. All the things that we
How
do.
did I do that?
Yeah, and all the things that that we could do, and that we do, excuse me. And on the flip side of that, like what we probably could do better at, and because I identify that there's weak links in every chain, right? But I think another, pull this from training a little bit, right? A lot of people want to attack weak links. Hey, I'm going to attack the weakest link. Well, you can attack the weakest link as much as you want if you don't protect what is the upside of what you already have, then you're probably missing the boat, right? Like, one of the things we always talk to our young coaches about is like, don't take away what makes a great athlete great. Hey, this athlete's weak, quote unquote weak, right? But he's extremely twitchy. He's extremely neurally driven. Well, don't make him stronger at the cost of losing that twitch. Exactly right, right? Protect what's already there. And so maybe the weakest link's not actually the answer. And I know now this is an incredibly long answer to a simple question, but I think there's things to work through here from a systems perspective that allow the values and the vision to scale. I think initially, if you're a solo operator, you don't have to do this, but you should if you're going to scale, because otherwise you will be behind the 8 ball, just like I was.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting transition point, because I look at the same thing. I'm a big believer in systems. Like, I think systems are how most of our athletes get through preps, get through like high level composition change, high level performance on the field. It's not through like, these high burst inspiration moments or like these big chunks of high intensity. Like, intensity and consistency are two of our 3 core values. I truly don't believe you can achieve a high level of success without those 3 things. But at the same time, if you're only doing one or the other, right, you can't put it all into one bucket. It's got to be, can you give a high level of intensity or intent with consistent application? If you can do that, shit really pops off. Now, can you do that and basically be able to, watch things still scale and grow? Can you actually still watch things take off and get to that next level? And one of the things that you guys have done well, in my opinion, is you've systemized the way that it seems like high intensity but consistent application can be done. So in looking at that application, what is the key that you've sort of systemized with your protein, where you've looked at those things and gone, all right, we need to put this in place. We need to have this system here, this structure here is going to hold this together, allow us to do that. Are you looking at like behaviors that they're doing well and going, all right, let's standardize that? Are you looking at like, how we do feedback or check-ins or accountability and say, let's standardize that? What's the system there? Because obviously, if we're talking about building off culture, in order to build off it to show other people, there's got to be a model that can scale and move, right? It's got to be transferable. So what did you standardize first or systemize out of that to go, all right, this is the stuff that's working, let's lock that in?
Yeah. So I think the very first thing everybody wants to systemize, and probably does, which I know we did too, was our actual training system, right?
Yep.
Like, that's where everybody goes first. Hey, this is the most important thing, whatever you believe in training, right? Which is a whole nother, that's literally a 5-hour podcast. I was just on a business call before this too, and we started to get into training, and I was like, I don't think you guys want to do this the way that you think you want to do this. But yeah, so I think that was first, right? Systemize the training so that we could create trackable, measurable results consistently. So that's number one, right? People come for results, but they stay for experience. So if they come for results and you can't demonstrate results, they'll leave, right? Even if the experience is great, it's a ticking time bomb. They'll eventually leave. So then we'd start to talk about, the other side of the coin, right? How do we standardize experience? Well, you standardize experience through a few things aside from training, right? Aside from training. So training obviously is a system in and of itself, how you run the session, how you operate the session, the time that you really put into each kind of block of the training, right? How much time do we do soft tissue work? How much time do we do static work? How much time do we do dynamic work? How much time do we sprint? All that stuff, put that to the side for right now, and I'm happy to dig into that more. But then the next piece is like, you have to standardize what is acceptable behavior, to your point. You have to standardize how you highlight extremely great behavior, right? Behavior that's identical to what we're looking for from a values perspective. And then you have to standardize your language that you use around the values that you want to see in your athletes and in your people, right? So we want to have a common language that everyone speaks, from the coaching floor to the member herself, Susan, 55-year-old Susan in Haddonfield, right? I want her to speak the same language as my 24-year-old, 26-year-old coach when it comes to the thing I said earlier, consistency beats intensity. I want her to be aware of that phrase. I want her to use that phrase. If once we know that we've got somebody doing those things, that's like a major green light for us, right? That's a big win, right? We're like, oh man, look, this is a person who's bought into our culture and to our values, because now we're using the same common language. So we want to standardize. Number one, how do we identify the behaviors, right? And then highlight those behaviors, right? Because again, values aren't taught, they're caught, right? The best way, the fastest way to have everybody catch on to what you're looking for is to highlight when it happens, right? How do you highlight those behaviors? Number one. Number two, how do you systemize and unify the language that everyone uses around those behaviors? And then ultimately, how do you go and do that in each and every location for every coach, and then for hopefully every member? And that's what we did. So initially, we started out with this idea of a training system, and that would be enough. But unfortunately, at that time, my vision wasn't big enough. So it was enough for a really long time. We were a single location with 2 programs for years, over 10 years. We just had one location.
I think when we first met, you guys were at the single facility mark, still out of Berlin. Yeah.
We just had the one location for a long time, just because my vision was kind of all over, a lack of clarity. Which, by the way, if your vision lacks clarity, so will your team's vision, right? And it took a really good member of my team saying to me, like, hey, I'm going to step away, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go do something else, because we just didn't have opportunity for him. For me to finally say, okay, listen, I've been kind of toying with the idea. It's one of the visions. It's not the vision, but I've been toying with this idea of having multiple locations. If I open another location, would you step up and run it? And would you stay? And he said yes. And then it was go, right? In a moment's notice, what was kind of an afterthought, or kind of like one of the routes I could take, became our sole vision, our sole focus, right? It became the landmark that we were driving towards. And in that moment, that's when I knew. I was like, okay, the training system alone will not be enough. Because I know I have this unicorn now who's going to be an operator at the new location. But immediately, if you open 2, you open 5. I forget who said that to me, like in 2015 or 16, a business coach said, if you're going to open 2, you open 5, because once you open 2, you're not a coach anymore. You're in the business of opening gyms. I said, okay, no worries. So as soon as I opened 2, I knew what we were going for 5. We're actually going to open 10. But I said, okay, if I'm going to open 5, I know I'm not going to get 4 more unicorns to run locations. So then how do I standardize not only the training system, but also the language and the value system that we know makes our place special? Right? How do we get people to say, hey, I love this thing of ours? How do I get them to believe that they are in a family that masquerades as a gym? And that's what we started to put kind of pen to paper and organize what is now what we call VTO, right? From Traction. I don't know if you've read Traction, Gino Wickman, great book. And it's one of those books where you reread it, and every time you reread it,
it's something new.
You're in a different place. Exactly. You're in a different place in your business. So there's something for you to actually use. But we use what's called a VTO, a vision traction organizer, that's available to every single member of our team every single day. They actually have to look at it because it's on our scorecard, so they can't get away from it. And it has our vision. It has our 5-year vision. It has our mission statement. It has our core values. It has our unique selling propositions as a company. It has who we serve, our target markets. It has like kind of our niche within those target markets, all on one sheet of paper, so that they're seeing it constantly. And once we were able to build that out and then communicate that effectively, all of a sudden now scale becomes much more manageable, right? We know that we can put everything through the grading system of our values, right? And we even, by the way, this is how we now, fast forwarding a little bit, how we now go in, and each of our values is associated with behaviors, like we already discussed, and that's how we grade our staff. Hey, how close are you to living out this value 100% of the time, right? And again, everything becomes a system at that point, which to some people, if you're like, a very good technical coach or a very good technician, that might not sound as appealing to you, but I would encourage you to kind of take a little bit of a step back
Yep.
and think about what you're actually trying to accomplish. As a technician, you could probably help, 150 people at a time, right? Like that's like max.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't see a single coach coaching more than 150 people. I'm sure someone will comment on this, be like, I coach 212 people or something. But I can't see a single coach like actually serving 150
At a
plus
high
people
level, probably not.
at a high level. Yeah, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, like our mission is to impact 600 South Jersey families each and every month. So like the impact that I'm trying to create with our business is significantly bigger than what I could do alone,
Yes.
which was what made me flip kind of the script on being the technician. I still love being a technician. I still love coaching,
Yep.
and I get to do it now. I'm lucky enough that I kind of built it into my schedule, but I don't do it every single session of every single day, and I couldn't do it at every single location.
Yeah, I think going back to a great point you made, I think this is something that a lot of early operators tend to forget and they don't understand is you touched on this point of kind of standardizing early and systemizing early when you've identified a great operator or someone who's, going to springboard the system. Like you've got this unicorn that can potentially help you expand or force you to expand. And I went through the same situation when I was mentoring one of the mining companies that we're working with. And I was sort of looking like, I don't preach from a place of like, billions of dollars of lived experience in business, but I've got multiple business backgrounds where I've used the same concepts and applied them across industries and it's always worked. And one of the things I always do is pull from sports. We know Tex is great at understanding, explaining the concept of like lessons from, captains and coaches teach lessons. I like to take those from the sport and apply them in business and see how it crosses over. And there was a key operator inside this business and like a lot of the work was running through him. And it was like his relationships were great. His connection to the contracts was great. The way he acquired sales was great. His execution of the standard, like the trade craft that they did was fantastic. Like it's what got them work. I was like, okay, if you die tomorrow, what happens to the business? Because right now you are the business. The business isn't the system or the structure and the execution. So I was like trying to get them to this idea of understanding the concept that you need to be replaceable, not because you're lazy as a business owner or operator, but you need to be so standardized and so systemized and structured that I could pluck you out, pull someone randomly from the street, put them in your position, say, here's the manual or the matrix of the company, read that, and you can tell me exactly how to do your job. And it was like this foreign concept that I was trying to replace him. I'm like, no, this is your company. I'm trying to free you up to run now. You're gone from like a really easy way to kind of understand is like you've gone from being the platoon leader in the battle, right? You're on the field shooting at the other guy to now you're stepping back being a general. You've got to make big time decisions around multiple locations and sites and situations. That systemization early, I think a lot of people struggle with if they intend to scale. They don't realize that, hey, if you found a way to do your check-ins, it's really effective. Or if you found a way to talk to your clients, it's really effective. Systemize it and standardize it. Take notes on it, write it down and say, hey, this structure worked really well. I can now replicate that. If I believe in that and buy in that, well, then when I scale and get 200 clients or I have another coach under me for 100 clients, I can trust him to take that system and replicate me and I don't have to be there. But it's like everyone gets insecure about the idea of being replaced, or they think that like, oh, my secrets, I can't give them away. Someone else will find out. No one cares. No one cares. Like you're not that important. You're the secrets that you have in an industry of coaching that's been around now as long as it has with the digital media age that's around. Everyone knows them. And it's just you have your twist to them. That's what you need to standardize, right? It's like make all the redundant thinking on paper and systemize in a way where it can be replicated very easily. And then you apply your flair, which is what we're talking about with like going back to your sales script. It's like you don't need to, like a robot, read it verbatim, dot by dot, but you need to be able to understand it in a flow where if you add your flair to it, it still leads to the same outcome. That's where like that CJ systemization, it's not because you're trying to make every single person you're trying to maximize their ability to be them, but with a system of execution that works. And I think that's where a lot of coaches get it wrong early, as a takeaway, like straight off the bat, is whether you're working with baseballs at a high level in MLB or whether it's at the college level or whether you're just getting Gen Pop through the door.
Yep.
Systemize early in a way where if you know you're repeating the same thing, it becomes a workflow and a process and a systemization structure that you can then carry that into, hey, I know this becomes the culture because I know Ben is doing my check-in on Monday no matter what. Ben's showing up, I have to show up. Ben's, this group runs at this time and there's this high level of expectation. It happens every single Monday no matter what. I need to show up and do it. That execution and repetition of us then leads into the clients and the team, and they go, yeah, that's right, I've got to do that.
You'd be shocked at how what you just said, it with a bar so low as the fitness industry, sorry if that offends anyone, but it really is. Just being consistent alone, that alone is enough in a lot of markets to differentiate yourself. Like that's kind of it. Now, some markets are way more competitive. I get that. And depending on your target, who you're actually going for, right? Like if you want to trade Major League Baseball players, there's only 100 and something,
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you're gonna have to do a little more than be consistent to differentiate. But you'd be shocked in the general pop market, just being consistent, just providing value is a lot of times enough to differentiate. But to your point about that, it's like, systems, I think about it a lot like bowling, right? I'm not very good at bowling. My wife claims to have beat me in bowling. We cannot confirm nor deny because there's no evidence of the score. But yeah, so I'm not sure what happened. She says she won. Nobody knows. But yeah, so I'm not very good at bowling. But like, if you put those bumpers on, I'm always going to hit pins.
That's fair analogy,
right? But if you take those bumpers off, I might not hit anything. Right?
You're the ramp guy. You're definitely the ramp guy.
Oh, dude, if I had a ramp, I would definitely hit. Again, great. You're making my analogy even better, right? So like, for me, systems are that, right? Hey, you want to add your own flair. You want to spin the ball the way you want to spin it. You want to start it on that third kind of dot in and not straight down the middle, whatever. Like, that's fine because as long as we have these bumpers up, as long as you're within this system, you're going to hit some pins, right? We're going to get some small wins. It might not be a perfect strike. It might not be the highest velocity you've ever thrown a bowling ball because they do the speed thing now, which is cool, right? But you're going to hit some pins. So that's the way I think of systems, right? For a young coach, if we could set up systems, you're allowing your team, you're giving them the ability to win. And I know it sounds bad to take away, quote unquote, someone's autonomy, but you can simultaneously give someone a path for success and nurture their autonomy in other ways and still make them a successful coach long term and probably provide them a career if you do the right things. If you do the right, if you take those next steps and start to build out systems that really do scale. And then like if you get a unicorn, if you get somebody who wants to modify the system, test it. That everything like in training becomes test retest. Like, hey, I think I respond a lot better to heavier weights. Like, all right, cool. Let's see in the next 12 weeks, like how that works. Like, do you have the time to do this experiment? I'm not sure, right? That's a different kind of subject entirely. But if we have the time and the bandwidth to do the experiment, let's do the experiment, and that's what, that's how you nurture someone's autonomy. I'm never opposed to someone changing our system, even if I'm pretty confident that it won't work, the change that they're thinking about doing. But, we could try it. Why not? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll prove me wrong. I reserve the right to be wrong quite a bit.
As a culture in of itself, it shows that you're willing to be flexible and also be corrected. No, not corrected is the wrong word. It shows you're willing to try new things, which will then reinforce their autonomy to come to you with ideas. So if you shut down the first idea, you're going to reduce the opportunity of them to come to you with new ideas, which in and of itself starts to crush the culture that you are quote unquote trying to build. So again, that systemization, that allowance of execution, it's called decentralized command, right? Like you're passing down the chain to give that person the ability to lead and instruct and own that position. Well, with that might come a, hey, I've seen this. What about that? Or this is my take on it. What if we reword this a little bit? Or what if we add this language to the sales? That's your way to go about it. If you want to teach your team that, but it's still inside our framework, give it a go. See what happens. Oh, our sales on this facility dropped. Okay, cool. Let's go back and let's reassess, do some training. Let's see why it didn't work. Maybe there's some gold nuggets in there we can take away. Little things like it can help your system be better, but it might not change it drastically. But if you shut down that autonomy and decision making, well, he's not going to do it again. And then you're going to have a culture of staff that just, what's the word? They're complacent, but they're also complicit. They just do, but they don't actually try anything better. And if you're trying to build a culture, that then leaks into your clients. And that leads actually to a very good question that I didn't want to make this entirely about the pro team, because I think you've got a bigger culture than that.
Yeah.
But if you were to drop a general population member, if you grab someone out of just one of the active facilities, never been there before, and they were just like, what is ATS? And you put them into one of the MLB system programs sessions, what behaviors, what systems are they going to see and go, holy shit, this is like, and not in a way where like they think they have to follow it, but if they look at this and it's almost like a, what's this difference or what's the contrast or what are the pros doing that I can take away? What are they seeing in standardized behavior where you're like, shit, that person's just changed, like their life just changed how they view execution and accountability.
Yeah. So I'll say two things. So number one, I think, and this will probably piss off some like technician people, but I think an adult, Susan from Haddonfield would be shocked at how similar her training is to our Major League Baseball players.
I'm a pro.
Yeah, like, hey guys, let's do some soft tissue work. She'd be like, oh, I do this too. Yeah, Sue's like, we believe in it so strongly that it not only works at the professional level, at the highest level with millions of dollars of contracts on the line, but it also works for you. And the way in which I treat, the way in which I think about, the way in which I approach the system for creating success in my Major League Baseball players who literally have millions of dollars on the line is the same way I treat Susan from Haddonfield, because Susan from Haddonfield is the not only like our member, but she's also the driver of the household, which is, by the way, why we made that our target market, right? We know when mom changes the way she eats, she changes the way she shops.
Yes.
And the way she shops, everybody in the house eats different, right? Our goal is to have a happier, healthier, stronger South Jersey. So we said, who makes the decisions around health in the household? We're going to target that person, right? So that's kind of how we got there. So I think she would be shocked at that. I think the thing that she would be shocked about most is probably the consistency of our pro athlete group. Our pro athlete group, and I'll say this to the lateral accountability. So I think our pro athlete group is just the most consistent group of guys you'll see because that's part of what we do, right?
Yeah.
Part of what we do is communicating about, and one of our big things, every off season has kind of a theme. I never like think about it beforehand, but it kind of formulates as we start to get going. And the theme of this off season has been live obviously for our pro guys. Right. So if I watch you on the weekend do what you do, is it obvious to me that you're trying to be a Major League Baseball player?
Yes.
If I never knew you, if I just saw you from afar, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, like, if you're at Chicken and the Egg, which is like a local bar, if you're at Chegg and you're having 6 beers on Friday night and we have a Saturday morning sprint session and I didn't know you, I would see you and that wouldn't be obvious to me that you want to be a professional baseball player. Now, on the flip side of that, if at 9 p.m. I just happen to be driving by your house and I notice all your lights are off and you're asleep already at 9 on a Friday night, that's obvious to me that you want to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
Right. So I think because of that theme and because of the lateral accountability, I think she would be shocked at the level of consistency and the level of lateral accountability our guys hold each other to. I rarely have to say something to one of our pro guys. Very rarely. Right. The senior guys in the group are going to jump up and kind of say what needs to be said.
I can say, having delivered some sessions to your guys in the staff and the athlete level, that they're probably some of the most accountable and open yet respectable players that I've met. Where in a sense of being open, like it's hard, it's very, I don't want to say rare because I haven't met hundreds of them, but in pro athletes, it's hard to get to a stage where they're just sponges and still want to absorb information. A lot of the time you get pros that are like, I'm the pro guy, I already know everything. What are you going to teach me unless you're above me or like the coach in my team? But in the conversations we've had, the systems that we've run and the sessions we've run, it was just like sponges soaking up questions and information. And that went, I could see that go laterally. I could see the guys who didn't turn up on time or like the more senior players who were there to like, I guess, kind of like lead and run with the younger guys. It was the senior player that said the thank you first and showed everyone that even at that level, like the appreciation's there, even from the top guy. So I can see how that standard runs across the board in your pro level, that it would definitely be, I would say shocking to, I'm sure for a mum of 3 or 4 who thinks that, pro athletes are just these meatheads that just want to make money and sleep with all the girls. And then you're going to see them like, she's going to be like, whoa, that's not what I expected from these personalities at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Our pro group's great just because it's a giant family. And a lot of the guys, like, we had a new guy this year, or we had a couple new guys this year, but we had a new guy this year, like immediately 2 or 3 days in, he's like, oh, now I understand. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, they've been telling me about it for 3 off seasons, but now I get it. Right. Now I understand. It's not just we're coming to train with you. We're coming to train in the group. And I'm like, yeah, it's customized to you. Yeah, you're going to get the deliverable training that you need, but you're also joining kind of the family, right? We talk about A-team. That's one of our core values, right? This is a family that masquerades as a gym. Our pro group is really the embodiment of that, right? This is a giant family, and the radical candor is definitely there in spades. They're gonna make fun of each other until, I mean, we've I mean, we've literally had people leave the gym because of the radical candor. On the flip side of that, probably not the best story to tell, but as we talk about this culture idea, but like our radical candor is very high, but the lateral accountability is even more there. And the other thing about it is too, like our guys really are invested in the success of the other guys in the group.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's just really powerful, and it's really special. It's really special to be a part of something at the professional level where the guy to your left and the guy to your right cares about your success, even though you're kind of in some ways competing.
Yeah. Yeah. That pivots to where I want to go next, because like you've got that down pat, right? You guys have that is bread and butter. It's the equivalent of me putting someone on stage in good condition. It's basically the fundamental of what you did. It's what started ATS.
Yep.
But you've expanded now into multiple locations. You've got multiple teams that all work under you now. You've got that decentralized command. Basically, you have autonomy running in your facility leaders, which I think is a great name instead of gym manager. Like it
Yeah.
indicates that they are leaders of that domain. That's where you guys run this ship, and how it goes is going to be. I'm going to hold you to that, but it also gives you autonomy to make decisions and try to get the best out of it under our frameworks. When we talk about culture, obviously we have like it's top down, right? Like culture, I believe culture, like ownership and accountability, it's superordinate. It comes from the top and works its way down to trickle down sort of effect.
Yep.
At that individual level, now you've got multiple locations. What are we looking for? Like, let's say you are someone who is in that business stage where you're starting to systemize, you're starting to look at expanding. How? Because you can't bring in new populations and have different leadership teams and maintain, I guess, like an identical culture. At a certain point, like each facility sort of starts to take a life of its own culture and development and vibe and sort of situation. But it fits under the culture that you guys want to have. You have your avatars, you have your leads, you have the type of people you want to bring in. How do you identify that? How are you building that out so that the culture of ATS is impacting each active, I guess, at the same way, but allowing it to be its own unique culture and vibe, so that each team leader is given that opportunity to say, like, grow this way, or how you want to, sort of thing. Like, how do you guys get to that level? What is it that you're doing?
Yeah, so that's interesting. So there's bandwidth, right? Like there's an allowable bandwidth for culture. Every location will have its own energy, its own vibe to it, right? But it's still going to fall within what we deem as really important, and again, what we deem as our core values. And the way I think about this is there was this show in like 2010, 2011. So you guys are probably just getting it now in Australia on HBO. It was called How to Make It in America. So I'm not sure if you ever saw it. It's on Netflix. Again, our Netflix, maybe a couple years for you guys. But so, and like the whole premise is this guy is, and again, I'm spoiling it. So if you're like really want to watch this show from 2010, don't listen to me right now. But the whole premise is this guy's trying to start a clothing brand with his best friend, and they call it Crisp. Crisp NYC is the name of the brand. And the guy, he's under the influence, and he's on the train, and he's going, "Is that Crisp? We're about to be late to our, is that Crisp? Is that Crisp?" And that is literally like that question. He started doing that on the show. I was like, oh, that's it. Oh my God, that's it. Like, is that A Team? Like, you start to put, what's happening, the actions, the conversations, the flow, the energy, the vibe, the things that you can't put fingers on, and you start to literally run it through that framework. Is that A Team, or is that ATS? Is that active? Is that who we are? And again, we just use A Team because active, ATS, right? All the other gyms are named active. Just ATS was a bad move. Put my last name in there, but here we are. So that framework is really, really important. And I know that this is, as we discuss systems, this is not a system. This is the opposite of that, right? This is a feel idea. But I think when you have, again, really good guardrails, right, really good bumpers on the bowling alley, I think it's easy to run it through that, right? So what are our bumpers, right? What are our bumpers? Our bumpers are our 5 core values. I love that you guys have 3. I wish we had 3, going back. So if you're a brand new coach and you're just working on this, the simpler, the better. Mm-hmm. But our 5 become our guardrails for us, right? Yeah. One of those 5, as we're discussing, is lead from the front. The concept is that leadership requires no title. great book. Never read it, but I read the title. So, you know, the concept is like, yeah, just read the title. You're good. Radical Candor, another one. Don't read the book. Great title. So
I'm so well read of titles.
I got a bunch of books here.
Oh shit.
The concept is like, you know, the facility leader in and of themselves is not the only leader in that building.
Yeah.
Every single person, every single staff member is their own leader, and everybody should be able to hold the others accountable. So, you know, an intern at first week at our gyms should be able to hold me accountable if there's something that's not A team that I'm doing, right? Am I showing up late? That's not A team. That doesn't fall under our hard hat principle, right? Am I dismissing something, or am I dismissing failure as not an opportunity to learn and grow? That's blue collar mindset, right? That's not blue collar. That's not A team. Talk to them, right? Am I not treating someone as if they're family, right? Am I not taking them under my wing in a hard moment? Am I not covering for them when they need backup, right? That's not A team. Get out of here, right? Like, so again, so you have the guardrails, and then you have the allowable bandwidth, and then you have the system for, is that A team? Is this crisp NYC? I love that freaking show. I wish they discontinued it after 2 seasons because it was pre-streaming error. But is this crisp, you know, in your head? And you can run it through that. Now, again, the problem becomes for a solo operator is that everything you do is freaking A team. Everything you do is crisp because it's you. It's your brain, right? Then you have to put pen to paper and actually discuss what those bumpers look like on your lane, so that you know where that allowable bandwidth is. I don't know if I answered that question at all.
No, you did. And it especially at the individual level, because, you know, we started there. We're a 3-man team now, and it's not intending to scale much more than that anytime soon. But even at the level where, like, our intention is to scale, right? Like, we want to have facilities, that is the goal to move towards. But the thing that we got, I don't want to say chuffed at, but at least like challenged on early, was like, I was putting pen to paper on these things that I believed in, that, you know, we had our core values, our mission statement, we had our ideal outcome, we had this vision written down. And, you know, the funny part was, you know, one of the things was like, I wanted to spread this message. In 5 years, I wanted to be an international speaker. In 18 months, Cav had us flown over to America to speak at the Coach Catalyst conference. I'm like, I can pretty confidently tick that off. I'd say that's counts as international speaking. And, you know, the vision was to eventually move to America, in the sense of like getting clients over there. Again, we started already on that path. So like, once we had that vision, we had these things written down. I was like, oh, this is moving faster than we expected. I know that my brain, and this was like one of the best things that I learned, experienced, got taught, was people can't live inside my brain. People can't live where my head is. Only I can. But if I base all of my decisions, whether it be for my own frameworks, my own if this, then that trees, if I am reactive to that as opposed to having it on paper, then I'm not locked into anything. I don't have a system. I don't have a framework or a structure. I just have reactivity. I have responsiveness. I have impulsive decision making. That can be, you know, that can be programming. It can be business acquisition. It can be taking on clients, whatever it is. If I don't have these clarities or guardrails, as you're referring to them, then it's not really a business. It's just me impulsively reacting that kind of gets me money. If I know that early on in my days, like, hey, I have this idea of how I like to structure, make decisions around programming, set modification, volume acquisition, whether it be how I modify exercise selection. Okay, that's my training system. I need to write that down, so that when I do have, like, you know, I'm in prep. I always use prep as a really good example, because I hate coaches that do a bodybuilding show and then all of a sudden use that as an excuse to drop their standards in coaching. If anything, prep exposes your coaching, because it tells me how actual standardized you are and how much you're just reacting to stuff. 100%. I should be able to still execute at the same standard, give or take some mind blanks and not being able to think, you know, perfectly, because you're on next to no food and zero body fat. But you should be able to execute the same standard, because I have frameworks, not templates, but I have frameworks for how I do things that are systemized, that allow me to still be me, so that the team knows, hey, Ben shows up. Ben still does the same thing, regardless of what season he's in, what year he's in. It doesn't matter. The execution is there. And I think that's where a lot of coaches struggle early days, is they think that everyone else understands their head, or that, you know, what's in their head is sufficient, until you get to that point where you're challenged, or you're too busy, or now you got 50, 60 clients. What's in your head is not sufficient. You're too tired, it's spread thin, you're exhausted, because you're making so many micro decisions, micro assessments, and micro calculations, instead of having that stuff structured and standardized. Most of the way I view systems is it should offset it should outsource most of the micro decision making that doesn't actually allow you to do your coaching job or your business leadership job. And that way you're free to do more of that stuff. So if it's micro thinking or decision tree thinking, it's already it's out of your head on paper, and you can just go, oh, that's this. Cool. Here's this. This number went in, this outcome happened. I didn't want that. Let's change it here. It's already pre-decided because it's in a framework. And I think that's where a lot of coaches think that they're super unique, or, they don't need to do that yet because they're not at scale. But when you get to scale, you'll wish you've done it.
100%. Well, once you get to scale, you realize that your effort no longer dictates your success, right? Your systems do. So like, I'm going to work harder than the next guy. It's like, I work really hard. Like, I'll tell you right now, it's one of our core values, right? Working really hard, working really consistently. I mean, I've been stacked up against a bunch of people, right? Show me your schedule. And I win a lot of those, but it doesn't matter how much I win because we have 5 locations. If I'm going as hard as I can go, sun up to sundown, from the time I open my eyes to the time I close my eyes, I still would not be able to do the work required for 5 locations to flourish with no systems. It's impossible. So that's the scaffolding that holds up, again, like you said, all those small decisions. You only have so much bandwidth to make decisions as a leader anyway, and all of that bandwidth should be placed on the higher kind of the higher caliber decisions that really dictate the path forward for the business, right? And depending on which stage of business you're in, and we're like really working on kind of determining, and really putting like models around the business stages. Like we have phases that each of the locations are in. That's really important for us too, against systems, right?
Yep.
And then again, systematizing the decision making even further, right? Oh, this is a phase 3 facility. Well, we know exactly what we need in phase 3. We need 2 full-time staff members in phase 3, and that first staff member is going to make X, and that second staff member is going to make Y, and that first staff member is going to get X bonus, and that second staff member has the opportunity to make Y bonus, and like we have that outline. So again, there's less decision making to be done, so that you can think about whatever it is. Oh wow, all of our locations are in phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Perfect. We're ready to open another location. Here we go. And I can start to think about that as the leader and as kind of the CEO, and really sit in that seat. And that's the other thing too, is like, you want to be clear about the seat you're sitting in. If you're a solo operator, you're not just a coach. You're making the decision to sit in every single seat.
Yeah.
Those seats still exist. You're still HR. You're still marketing. You're still head of finance. Like, you're still all those things. Right. So I think it's really helpful for people in that stage to write out an org chart and like put themselves in every seat. Yeah. And then you understand, like, oh, wow, my effort will never get me here by myself. If you have big impact goals, right, my effort will never get me here by myself without systems.
I think you just touched on a really important point as well. And that is early days for a lot of business, a lot of coaches. We go to PT school, we go to, do an exercise, X-Phys, kinesiology, we do exercise science, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm a coach now. But what we don't get taught, and what is missed in pretty much every single fitness related educational subject or curriculum, is the business aspect. We don't look at it as you are a business first. People look at it as a coach. Coaching is the deliverable product that you have. And it's a great product. We love servicing people and helping them reach a goal. That's epic. But if you don't stay in business, you can't help people. So I think that early days, like you said, writing out the org chart, writing out your workflow, mission statement, vision, like everything we kind of covered, it comes from the mindset that you are a business first. You are like, there's, front of house, back of house, as Cav likes to use an example. But at the back of the house level, you need to look at it no matter what, as this is a business, which means I have my admin days, I have my structure days, I'm refining this, that, and the other days. I'm also looking at marketing, content creation. I'm also looking at acquisition. I'm also looking at, KPIs and churn rates. I'm going through these things because it is a business, so I can assess decisions. On the front end, I'm the deliverable as well. I'm also on the front client-facing side of things. I'm delivering the product and the service, making sure that people are getting a result that I can then market and leverage. So you've got to be wearing all these hats, but you have to treat it like a business. And I think a lot of the times, like, we play sport when we're younger, or we've got a sport background, like, I really love to be an athlete coach, or like work with other athletes. And that's what we think coaching is. And until you realize, like, oh, it turns out there's taxes and there's admin and there's pays, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to pay myself. And I'm also going to set up this structure so I can have my LLC and I can have income, but be protected. And I'm making sure that I'm not, I'm risk adverse in the sense of being sued or lose my money. All those things that keep you in function for 5-10 years to make that impact, instead of the statistical 12 months before you drop out, which is the average in Australia. So, you've got to actually go, I'm not just a coach, I'm a business. And my business that I sell is coaching.
100%. And I think, number one, I'm shocked that you guys have taxes in Australia. That's awesome. Number two,
It's not. I can promise you that. 25% company tax can go right away.
stop zooming in on me. Number one, number two, number two. That was crazy.
Oh,
Number
mine's done it
two,
too now. Sweet.
yeah, look,
Oh, hell yeah. I don't
just
know how to
zoom
turn
in.
this off. Where's Kane when you need
Um,
him?
yeah, for real. Number two, though, I'll say this, and I think when I started out, I thought it was stupid. So if I was listening to this podcast at 18 or 19 years old, and I was still in college, and I was thinking about this, and I was like, write out an org chart. It's just me. Like, I thought that was really stupid. I'll encourage that person listening to this to do it anyway and feel stupid in that moment. So that's number two. I said two, but number three, um, the other thing as you're going through that and thinking about that is this other concept of like, how do you split up all the work, right?
Yep.
Like, because you're so new, right? And you do have to do the deliverable. And, if you're a personal trainer, 12 months, you said, in Australia, I think the average burnout here for a personal trainer is 2 years. It's like 2.3 years or something. And I think the average NFL running back is like 2.4. Like,
I think ours is like 80% churn in the first year, and then it goes to like 60% after that. So like inside the first 2 years, you're basically done.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really bad for us too. I'll say this: the way I used to split it up, and I still think this is pretty effective, is to have a focus. Because if everything's your focus every day, you really don't
Yeah.
have any focus, right?
Agreed.
So when you're delivering coaching, so that's every day. And
Yep.
then I would have a day each week for those other hats.
Yep.
And you might say, like, that's not enough time. It's like, it's fine because you'll move it forward. Like, you'll
Yep.
continue to push the ball. I think better than being overwhelmed. So like when I was first starting out and I was a solo operator, I would have like Mondays were like marketing Monday. So
Yep.
I would coach in the morning if I was coaching in the morning. Then I would do marketing Monday for a block of time. I'd go back and coach at night, and it's really hard, but you're okay with what you get done. And then you go to the next day, right? And it
Mhm.
would be whatever Tuesday was, right? Tuesday might have been Systems Tuesday, and I write out a system,
Mhm.
and those systems did eventually, we'd continue to upgrade. I mean, we still upgrade. I don't know if anybody can read my board behind me, but it says update playbooks because we just recorded more stuff. We're constantly updating our systems playbooks all the time, but so it never stops. Like, you never stop doing that stuff. You
Mhm.
just dedicate more time to it later on in the journey, right? But I
You also
think that,
you tweak and find, loopholes, or not loopholes,
always,
sorry, gaps, problems. Like you find
yeah.
those areas you have to fix.
Well, you need throughput to know what those areas
Yeah.
even are. So like, and that's one of the big, I do a lot of business consults for gym owners now. Like, I'm just, I was telling you, I was just on a call right before this, but, and that's like a lot of the stuff is they don't have so they'll think that the system is good. And I'll talk to them about numbers, and either they don't know their numbers, or B, they know their numbers and there's just no throughput to really
Mhm.
determine what the bottleneck is, you know? So those are, again, like, as you have more throughput, as you have more actual volume of stuff to break stuff, then you'll
Mhm.
figure out what those are, and then you'll tweak the system again, right? So
Yeah.
it's constantly tweaking, it's constantly refining. It's just like your training system, right? You're constantly tweaking, you're constantly refining. There might be an exercise that you absolutely love for guys in prep in whatever 2020 that you almost never program anymore,
Yeah.
right? It just causes too many guys to whatever flare up their knee, it's like, I don't love that exercise anymore. It's
Yeah.
out, and now you program it very sparingly, right? We
Yep.
always talk about, like, again, volume identifies really what those weaknesses look like.
Yeah. I mean, volume, pushing the system to like stress testing the system to breaking point, I think is a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. They don't like the idea of stress testing. They just think like, and I think this is the especially in the world of the modern, Poindexter coach online these days, the evidence-based coaches, is like, if
Yeah.
you have all the time in the world to do research and zero application, your opinion to me is irrelevant. I don't really care, because nothing that if you're going to challenge me on exercise selection or like program modification because you've read all these studies and you've got these amazing ideas in your head, but you've never applied it to a real world client to see if it actually holds up, it's redundant, because I've probably tried it or something very similar and found that it was useless. And so I did what I did instead because I have the volume and throughput to test it out. So same with the
Yeah.
business. It's taking that concept and just saying like, okay, well, I believe this will get me more clients. Cool. In theory, does it get you more clients? I believe this will get me more leads. Okay, does it get you more leads? This will get me, better results. Like, okay, did that happen? If it didn't, you can test it and assess it and go, okay, well, where along the journey did that go wrong? And I can refine it. And I think
Yep.
that stress testing is a concept that people need to understand is not bad. You should want to see things break because then you can fix it faster. Not in the
Yeah,
sense
it's
of
a
like running
big
into the drains,
opportunity.
but you're going to want to fix it at a certain point. So why not fix it sooner?
Yep. Yeah, it's a big opportunity. Every failure is an opportunity to learn and grow, right? It's like that's how you get here faster.
Yeah.
It's we talk a lot about exit velocity at our locations, right? Like I and again, these are kind of like this is like up in the air, kind of airy fairy stuff, but like it's seemingly 50 members is like kind of easy to get to, but
Mhm.
like 50 to 75 is like a really hard gap to
Yeah.
fill. But then 75 to 100 is easy again, right? We
Yeah.
call it exit velocity. Like, hey, just hit 75. You got exit velocity, right? Hey, you got exit velocity. Here we go. You know, so like, and that concept is that it's just fail faster, right? Like, really fall down as
Yeah.
fast as you can so you can get the exit velocity you need.
Yeah. And speaking of like that client acquisition, it leads to a very good point here, which is one of the levers that you guys pull really, really well, and I would say almost second to none that I've seen, is you guys use culture as a retention and client acquisition lever, not just
Yep.
a kind of it's not just fluff and like there for show as much as it is obviously for show. You do things like that, the appies and that sort of stuff, but it's if you really break it down and look at it, it's one hell of a acquisition play and it's one hell of a retention play. Obviously,
Yep.
it a retained client is far more cost effective than having to acquire a new client. Anyone that's run a business knows that cost
Yep.
wise, everything about it, it's better to stay at 50 than to lose 10 and try to gain 20 more. Like it makes more sense to try and stay, a good 50 that then eventually builds to 55 or 60. You guys do that really, really well. Now,
Yeah.
that
Appreciate that.
that that leads to a couple of questions, which is how do you guys view culture as reducing churn? Now, like it gets a bit more on the business side here for people listening, obviously, but these are important aspects and KPIs that we have to understand is like I will always rather have 30, 40, 50 really good clients that I align with that's fit my values than push to getting 75, 80, 90 that absolutely destroy me. I have no fun coaching. I do not enjoy, and I don't coach them at my best. So like
Yep.
I would rather that retention be really high and slowly add the right fits than
Yep.
me losing 20 and then have to chase my tail to try and find 21. So
Yep.
how do you guys view that culture? Did you start out thinking like, hey, culture is going to retain people, or was it like I just noticed as our culture fit was strong and we had this really nice vibe in these facilities, retention was high and we just got new people?
No, you know how I figured that out, and this will probably piss somebody off, so that's good. I figured that out by looking at gyms that suck.
Yeah.
That's how I figured it out because I look at gyms that suck and I notice that people stay at gyms that suck, right? And I go, oh wow, that person, we won't say any names, like that person doesn't know shit about training and they don't know really how to coach. And actually, like the stuff that they're doing is probably dangerous for that athlete, for that individual. But that person's still there and it's their third year,
Yeah.
right? That's how I learned that culture was important. Literally, just from so you can learn from watching like the legends and all those things. But that was something that I learned from watching really bad gyms and chain models specifically. Right, chain models have a really, and again, I won't name any chain models. I don't want to get sued, but chain models have a really good a really good vibe to them. They have an
Yeah.
energy to them, and I don't know. You guys are in Australia. I'm not sure if you guys have like kangaroo theory fitness or anything like that, but like for us up here we got different stuff like that everything has its kind of energy to it. So I realized like, oh wow, culture is a big piece to that. So
Yeah.
what we do, to expand on what you're saying, so what we do for a listener, if you're listening, like again, you don't have to do it this way, but we have an event every single month,
Yeah.
something going on, and we create opportunities for our people to connect with us outside of the gym. Number one,
Yep.
right? Because our core value is a team, family that masquerades as a gym, right? So family hangs out together. Family has good meals. Family comes together to celebrate one another. So we do that every month
Hmm.
in one way or another. The other thing family does is support one another. So one of our big events every year is bench press for boobs, right? We get together and we raise money for a worthwhile cause in our area that we think is really special, really important, and we get the opportunity to do it together as a family. So again, like that's one microcosm of event, but we have 12 events a year for our adults. And that's really important to us, right? Giving them that opportunity to have a social event that's not completely surrounded by and dictated by unhealthy habits,
Yeah.
is also another really important sub kind of category, sub impact that we can make in the community, right? Like, hey, we want to have fun social events that don't necessarily wreck your progress for a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really important to us too.
That's an interesting one here in Australia. It's like a lot of the group systems will do a 4, 6, 8 week challenge and then follow immediately with like binge drinking, shitty food, and what we would call internal frolicking, if you will,
Yeah.
where it's just basically like pent up moods, emotions, and steam that are then put into one tight knit location, and alcohol is provided and food's like provided, and everyone's feeling good after losing so much weight, and it's like, yeah, this is a bad idea, but hey, you guys go off, do your thing, and then everyone's back in 6 weeks time because the results are completely gone and they didn't actually do anything. um
Yep.
but this
Yeah,
is
that
this is
sounds about right. That tracks.
yeah, maybe it's a good retention model. You have to come back because you didn't get anything.
Yeah. So for us, it's like how can we make this feel more like, and another great book that I didn't read is called The Third Starbucks Experience, right? So
Brooklyn
I
loves that
read
book. She loves it.
yeah, yeah, it's probably a great book, but I read a couple pages, and the concept is that the concept is that you have three places. You have work, home, and then you have Starbucks, right?
Mhm.
And we want to be that third place for people. So how do we do it? You can only train so much, right? You can only train. Most of our people are training 3 days a week. You can only
Mhm.
train so much. So then what, right? How can we take up? If we got you 12 times, and this
Mhm.
probably sounds bad, but if we got you 12 times a month, how can we add, maybe one or two more?
Yep.
How can we get one or two more opportunities to have you in our atmosphere, to have you in our bubble, and kind of impact you in a positive way, right? We can hang out, we can have some fun, of course. Like all those things are options, and the other thing is too, like at these events, like people are always like, "You're judging what I'm eating." We're like, not at all,
Yeah.
Especially if you train 12 times this month and you've been dialed in with your nutrition, guess what? The adherence to the program is not necessary to get you the result you want. Like you're not getting, our people aren't getting on stage. They're
Mhm.
not. So, Precision Nutrition did a big study a couple years back, like what was the minimal adherence that's all positive result. And
Yeah.
again, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 60% adherence. It was like
Yeah.
really, I was
Yeah.
like, that's it.
Yep.
Oh my God. Right. So I tell our coaches that all the time. I'm like, hey, like if we can get them to click at 75% adherence, like we're going to have a huge,
Yeah.
huge, like, so again, like it's really important to us to be that third place for people, to make them feel like they're a part of something bigger than them, because
Yeah.
that's ultimately what they stay for, right? They come for the result, but they stay for the experience. They stay for the family. They stay for the network. They stay because it makes them feel better, and it makes them feel like they're not alone on this giant spinning orb.
I think that led to it's kind of a two-part question, really, in terms of referrals and talent acquisition that I had mapped out, but you kind of answered it perfectly, which is, do people refer for programming or identity? And identity in this instance meaning like feeling a part of something bigger, like, you know, yeah, you're renowned for getting Major League Baseball, you're renowned for getting, people to these pro contracts, but are they coming because your program is that, you know, elevated and excellent and refined and tweaked, or is it because they become a part of the ATS model and they become a part of the ATS family and team? And then the same can be asked in terms of like talent acquisition as to opening new facilities. Are they coming because they want to be the world's best coach at Active, or because they want to be a part of Active? They want to be a part of the coaching team and family, that they're making that impact on the Jersey environment, the Jersey demographic, and that's what they want to be a part of. They're buying it. So it's like it's realistically answering the same question twice, but front of house, back of house. Is it because of programming and because of wanting to be a world class coach, or because they want to be a part of Active or ATS, the A team, if you will, in some facet? And I think
I'm
it's a
going to
pretty
read
answerable
you.
question, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
I'm going to read you something that one of my coaches sent me um, before his, if I can get it quick, before his quarterly review with me. And I think this answers the question. If I can get it quick, another 9 seconds. 8, 7, 6,
There's a lot can be
5.
done in 10 seconds.
Yeah. So I got the AI notes. I'll read those. So I won't tell you which team member. Team member resonates deeply with the organization's core values, particularly the commitment to continuing learning and personal growth. team member emphasizes the importance of being a part of something bigger than himself, um, feels as if this was at the perfect time for his life and completely changed the trajectory of his being. That's pretty good. If I can get that from a team member, then I know I'm on the right track. And I don't say that to brag, right? That's not what I'm trying to do, but I think it answers the question about,
Yeah.
what you asked. Are they coming to be the best technician? Are they coming to be, and probably some are, right? They're probably thinking that initially. But what they realize once they're in it too, and this is another, like, from a staffing perspective, we could do a whole like hour long podcast on just like how we do interviewing, how we do staffing, like how we identify talent in the market. But if we can get them to buy into our core values, and it's less on a staffing level, it's less about buying. Like, I really want you to come and resonate
Yeah.
immediately. I
Yeah.
don't want to have to sell you on it, because if I have to sell you on it, that's a whole nother onboarding that we don't have time for, right? I
Yeah.
have to onboard you to the technical aspects. I can't onboard you. And we always say, like, in one of the interviews, we have a 4-phase interview process. And one of the interviews I always mention, I say, hey, I can't teach you how to be a great person, but I can teach you how to be a great coach. That's every single person hears that from me. Every single one of my staff members listening to this is probably like, dude, he said that to me too. But it's the most true thing, right? And to us, a good person is someone who resonates with our values. Not that other people can't be good. That's not what I'm saying. But a good fitting person in our system is someone who resonates with our values deeply. So a good member, on the flip side of that, is going to be someone who resonates with our values too. And I think it's probably the same answer. They probably come again for the world-class results, for the world-class system that we've built, that we've been lucky enough to kind of tinker with and get to where it is. But I think they wind up staying because they resonate with what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the other side to that as well is like when you're getting into not just a lucrative system, but a very well performing system. You've got a system that has proven track records and results. You basically have the chance to short track the distance to learning anyway. Like you get the experience of working with more people. You don't have to worry about the marketing side as much. You can learn it because obviously you guys have a marketing system that you run, but you get to learn as an engine how that works, and you get to learn as a system how that process operates whilst getting paid to do it. Whereas like if you go out on your own straight away, which a lot of people make that, I don't want to say mistake, but it's very risky to do so. If you don't have the experience and technical knowledge, you're trying to figure that all out at the same time. Whereas when you come to say a place like you guys, as long as you buy into the culture and you're already into it, you can teach them all that stuff and they learn it in real time while getting paid a salary to do so. And you're getting the hands-on experience to be a better coach, be a better interact, which, let's be honest, a lot of the time, being a better coach doesn't come down to more technical knowledge. It's, are you becoming a better person anyway? Having the soft skills to work with people. Exactly. So,
100%.
that aspect is kind of like you're getting paid to learn all of those things at a very world-class facility that, already has this stuff designed for you. It's built out for you. As a staff acquisition, you're getting paid to learn how to be a better person, better coach inside a proven system. Like that's a pretty great way to go about it versus going out on your own and trying to figure it out.
So I'll sell it kind of both ways, because I can sell it both ways. So just full transparency, right? So if you said to me like, hey, I don't want to work for someone else, I want to do my own thing, like that's great. You're going to spend a lot of time figuring it out, which is probably great too. Again, there's great lessons in that, right? And it all depends on situation and who you are as a person. But I think if your vision is in alignment with our vision, right, impacting the most amount of lives every single month, then working with a team is the only way you're going to get there anyway. So why not join the best team doing it in your area? And that's us, right? So that's the way I would sell it to somebody that way. On the flip side of that, I'd like to sell it to a coach or an operator, because I see this a lot too, where operators don't want to invest back in their team so heavily because they'll leave. They're going to leave. They're going to leave with my knowledge. They're going to leave with whatever. The truth of that matter is I had a mentor a really long time ago told me this, and maybe it doesn't impact everyone the same way it impacted me, but he said, hey, listen, no matter what, every single relationship ends, no matter what. Right. And it was like, I was very early on in business, and I was talking to him actually about like retaining clients and like how upset I was when an athlete would leave.
Yeah.
It's, by the way, like you don't get over that. Everybody listening to this, it doesn't stop.
Yeah. It still hits me.
Like, yeah. I'm 14, 15 years into business. Like, and there's sometimes like people leave that I've never even coached. right? They're like in one of our systems, and I just know them from seeing them at events, and I'm like, I love that person. What do you mean they left, right?
Get it back.
Yeah, immediate reactivation. Um, but but yeah, so with that understanding that every relationship ends, but it's as a good person, your role is to lead that individual and to help them as much as humanly
Mhm.
possible, so that when they do leave and that relationship does end, it ends with two better people, a better
Yeah.
leader in you and a
Yeah.
better person in them. And I think like that understanding, I expose our team to a lot more than most people do. Like our team is, we're transparent on numbers. Our team knows what our business does. Like, they
Yeah.
know it all, right? Our team knows our salary caps. Like we're very transparent, and they're very in the thread, so to speak, on
Mhm.
what we do from a business perspective. So there's no like shock and surprise. But I will say, when people come from other businesses into ours, they're shocked that I'm sharing it with them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's what it could be. And they're like, what do you like? You're just going to tell me right now, like the top number I could make and the bottom. It's like, yeah, like I want to be as transparent as possible, because that'll set us up for the most success possible long term, right? Because eventually our relationship will end, and that's sad for me, and it might be sad for you too. But at the end of the day, like that's the truth of the matter, right?
Yeah.
Even myself and my wife, our relationship will eventually end. I will eventually kick the bucket,
Yep.
like. But having that understanding that all relationships end just makes you, if you frame it the right way, it just makes you pour into that relationship even more with the day you have today,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that. And it sets, I mean, it summarizes you, and again, how the you at the early days of ATS, and it kind of like, wraps a lot of this up, is like that approach, and the way you just described it is how your culture and values at the start of ATS, where it was just you, has leaked into the expansion and scalability. It's still a like those impacts you're trying to make have held across the growth, and are still being used even to vet how you bring someone in and the way you operate the system, which I think is a pretty cool way to look at it. When a lot of times people will talk about value. One thing I found is values are very performative for a lot of people. They'll talk about them, they'll carry them and say that that's who they are and what they do. But when growth happens is where you really see if they're true or not, and you see if they actually scale properly. And I think that's a cool reflection right there, that the impacts you've talked about making have held across time as the system has grown, and it still rings true that that's what you want to do. I think that's a pretty awesome way to kind of like wrap it all up. But I want to rapid fire questions. Otherwise, we'll talk about X's and O's and business and KPIs and stuff forever. But the main thing I
Yeah.
wanted to get before we move to that is the main thing I wanted to get for people to understand is you're at a place in growth that most people want to get to, or look at the idea of scaling as like, 2 or 3, 5, 10 facilities, whatever it might be. You're kind of in that middle where it's like, you're not 100 gym owner. You're still in it and figuring it out, and you're still growing and systemizing and structuring. But at the same time, you are still, you guys are, you're successful. There is a degree of success to it, and you've reached that level that most people want to achieve. But at the same time, it's not like you're done. So you're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
You're still trial and error, and you're still, okay, does this scale with us? Does this need to change? So I think in real time, people are hearing how systems and culture help that scale and also move with you. That I think is very important to business, whether it's early days, first week in the shop, or whether it's 10 years down the track and you've got 5 facilities. I'd like these concepts still ring true in my opinion. All right,
No,
so
100%.
let's rapid fire a couple of these. Uh,
Okay.
what is one behavior that defines champions in and amongst, whether it be your leadership team, your culture team, or whether it be in your athletes?
Champions create distance.
I love that.
That's it.
I've heard you say that 100 times. So again, it's good to see that like you're consistent. Uh,
Yeah. Yep.
one behavior that keeps amateurs average, whether it be again leaders or star or clients or athletes.
Yep. Failing to put a limit on the screen time and or the social media time on your phone.
Oh yeah, I
It
love
will
that one.
literally it will literally keep you the most average you can be, because you'll continually compare yourself to everyone else's highlight reel.
And you'll become a consumer, a consumer, not a giver.
Oh, exactly right. And by the way, guys, I struggle with all these things too. I'm
Yeah.
like, I love freaking TikTok, dude. I'm like,
half our relationship is just sending reels about what is Australia like compared to America.
100%.
I don't even know. What's your wife's name again? Who is she? I don't even know she exists.
Yeah.
I've met her like 5 times. So what's her name again?
We're just reels.
What is one metric that, Jesus Christ, what is one metric that matters more than revenue?
That matters more than revenue. Cost per acquisition.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. Fast or slow hire?
Oh yeah, always hire as slow as humanly possible.
And then inversely firing?
Yeah, that's tough. Hire really good so you don't have to.
Ooh, that's good. Improve the pipeline so you don't have to fire. Uh,
Yeah, you don't want to be firing. Yeah, firing is bad on multiple levels.
yeah,
Firing is it's not good for your internal team. That's what people don't understand. They understand the external. Oh, they're gonna leave. They're gonna take a couple people with them that love them and stuff. Which again, that's not good for your business either. It's
yeah,
probably not. It's probably not breaking, but you're breaking strands of trust within your current team.
yeah. Culture or revenue first?
Culture, 100%. We can build revenue, but once we're there, it's going to be very, very hard to build the culture.
Yeah, one of my favorite books, I think it was Coach to Coach, that talks about obviously culture. And
Yeah.
one of it's no, it's Coach to Coach, and or actually I think it's $1 Million Coaching. He talks about the idea that culture is always on. It's never a you don't get to, it's not a switch. Whether you deliberately invest in your culture or not, it is always on. It's just how you can, it's what is the culture that is the question. So if you're not investing in your culture, it doesn't matter. It's going to form, it's going to shape itself. It's just
Yeah.
whether or not it's good or bad for your business. It's not, you don't get a
Exactly
choice.
right. Yep. I love that.
Uh, what destroys culture fastest?
Lack of trust or lack of transparency, or
Ooh,
both.
yep.
I think lack of transparency because it leads to lack of
The
trust.
trust. Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
What builds it fastest?
Ooh, positive, actionable feedback.
Hmm. And same question, but in regards to your like client population
Yep.
vibe culture.
Yep. Public praise and positive feedback.
Yep. Love it.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
Nothing builds the behaviors more than like
positive
showing
reinforcement.
everyone how
Yeah.
awesome it is.
Yeah. You all suck. This guy killed it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, final question. And this one's a little bit heavier, but we live on the premise of legacy and trying to leave behind something that impacts the world. That is what we want to do. I'm not looking at building out the matter philosophy for this generation of clients. I'm looking for how to 200 years from now read a book that I write that they can make a difference. If someone wants to build something that outlives them, what's one principle they have to protect?
Transparency. I This is like it's the biggest thing for me now that I realize because we play everything so close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
And you play things close to the vest because you're afraid at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
yeah,
You live in fear. Um, when you can, and again, it's not going to happen in one flick of the switch. It's not going to be perfect. But when you can start to free yourself of the shackles of fear, you can become more transparent. And if you want to leave something that goes beyond you, I
yeah.
think you need the complete trust of those who you speak to and those who you lead. So yeah, I would say transparency. I really, and even like it can be that big and it can go to the minute level of the way
Mm-hmm.
you give feedback. Like that's how big of a concept transparency can be, the way at least I'm speaking of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think if you want to leave something that's going to be around, which is what I'm trying to do too,
Mm-hmm.
I would like nothing more than when I kick the bucket for people to step up to the podium and say, this was someone who was honest with me and provided me the feedback I needed because I knew he cared about me.
Yep.
Um, and really beyond all else, this is a person who I was proud to be associated with. Like, and we do this, and now this is a long answer to a short question, but we do this thought experiment. It's called the tombstone test. I've been doing this with my college classes ever since I started teaching 6 years ago. I actually used to do it as a guest presenter at the college, and then I got hired there and whatever. But and I want people to write, and I want them to write three things they want to hear
Mm-hmm.
about themselves at their funeral if they could
Yep.
watch it. And no one has ever said in 6 years, maybe call it 7 or 8, because I was doing the guest lectures too. No one's ever said, like, this guy was the best technical coach.
Yeah.
What a great technician. No one's
Yeah.
ever said that. And I certainly don't care if anybody says that. I know we get in those arguments when we're hanging out with other technicians, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're all monkeys. Like, we're like, but like in reality, like I don't think any of us really care about that more than we care about the way that we're remembered or the way we made people feel.
Yeah, I love that. That's an exact same example I use when it comes to people trying to figure out their values. So, like, if there were to be three words that define you at your funeral written on your tombstone, what would those
Yes,
three words be that you live up to every single day? What would you, if someone came to your funeral and said these three things were how you live, what would you want those words to be?
I love
Those are
that.
pretty evidently your clear values that you prioritize. It's just you need to start living like them. And that's like
Yep.
how I get people to connect their goals to their values pretty clearly. I find existential questioning is such a powerful way to connect people to truth and what they actually want, because there's nothing more honest and open than understanding that you are going to die, and that it's the time you have here is the time you have to make a difference. And if
Yeah.
you look at that and go, well, what do I actually want to do, or how much time do I have left? Like, those questions get pretty deep pretty quickly.
Yeah. Two really quick things on that. Number one, I'm sure you've heard this because you know Dave, but Dave Tate had a great, like, I don't know when I heard this in like 2012 or something, but he was talking about how do you make your like mission and vision core values. And he said for guys who would just give him like very general answers like honesty,
Yeah.
he would make them write out three things that they were definitely not. So hey,
Yep.
write out the three things that you are definitely not,
Mhm.
right? And when you do that, you'd be shocked at how fast you get to what your core values are. So anybody
Yeah.
struggling with that's pretty good.
Inverse thinking
Um,
is a good tool.
yeah, exactly right. I didn't know that the technical term, but yes. Number one. Number two, I had a mentor, and I'm not sure if he's still doing this. I have to check in with him and ask him. But he had two jugs of marbles in his shed, and one was for every day I think that he had left on Earth because he did some like some predictive equation, and then
Yep.
put a marble in for every single day. And like when he started doing it, obviously it was very much full, and then it was a lot less full. The last time I had checked in on it, and really powerful tool. Like
There's
to
a
see it visually like that, oh man, yeah,
very
gets you.
similar stoic there's a very similar stoic practice that you can buy a calendar, and it's like a mark or color off basically of every how many weeks you have left on average. So like the male average life is 73. I think female is 78 in the Western world.
Yeah,
um Maybe it's 78 and 83. And basically that's broken down into weeks. And you're basically every single week on a Sunday, you basically cross off a week that's gone and it starts to tell you how many you have left. And it's like
mm,
a really powerful reflection. Look at it and go, well, we all think we have so much time to do these great things. And then you realize, like, well, actually, statistically speaking, I use my dad, for example. He passed away at 59. I'm now past the halfway point of his life. So
yeah,
even if I make the same duration as him, I've only got half the time left that I thought I did based on what his number was. So
yep,
at 59, I'm 33. I'm well past that now. If
yep,
I get past that, great. But even still, 30 turning 34, I'm getting closer to the other side of halfway. So it's
yeah,
like, that starts to click pretty quickly that, oh, fuck, things move a lot faster than you realize. I need to start doing shit with my time.
100%.
Final question, and this is just a big one to wrap it up because we've talked a lot about systems, business, culture. If there is one key takeaway that you would want everyone that is starting a business, running their business, struggling with their business to walk away
Yep.
with, what is going to be the biggest lever to pull in 2026?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you're brand new and you need the next biggest lever is understanding. So we're talking about frameworks, we're talking about systems. Know your numbers. That's the
Yeah.
biggest lever. I'm shocked at how many people I get on the phone with or on a call with, and they have no idea what their numbers are. So if you don't know your numbers, that is the scaffolding. If you think of the scaffolding as two-sided, the first side of your scaffolding is your values, everything we've talked about, and the other side is your numbers. Like
Mhm.
having the real objective feedback of how your business is currently performing is going to be the biggest lever for you to pull. Now, if you're later on into your journey and you're, approaching the point where you're thinking about scale, guess what my answer is? It's the exact same. You have
Yeah.
to have an even further, more intimate understanding of what those numbers mean.
Yeah.
Initially, if you know them, you're on your way. Then you have to have an intimate understanding of how to modify them and really what they mean to you to go at scale. So I would say knowing your numbers is the other side of the scaffolding that maybe we didn't talk as much about, and the values are as important. But if that's the lever you haven't pulled yet, that's the one you have to pull.
Mate, thank you very much for your time. I know it's the end of a busy workday. But guys, we'll drop all the show notes where to find CJ and follow everything that
Yeah,
he does. You guys are always putting out content, great content machine that comes out for you guys. So we'll have all the ATS and the active pages and stuff listed under the descriptor, and where to find you guys for more consistent information. So thank you very much
awesome.
for jumping on, brother. I appreciate having you.
Thank you, man. Sorry, I got dark here.
You guys have sunlight over there?
Thank you, brother.